Hello and thank you for joining me for this RackEmApp video talking about team season setup. So this video is going to take you through everything you need to know to create your team season, and team seasons is really where RackEmApp's kind of bread and butter is. It's exactly what we were designed to build, and it's definitely where we specialize. So like I said, this video applies to team seasons only. If you're looking for singles leagues or alternative competitions, please look at some other videos. One thing to note when it comes to seasons within RackEmApp is you can only have one draft season and one active season at any point in time. That means whilst your current season is in play, you can start preparing your upcoming season, but you can't have two draft seasons. You can't have kind of prepare next season and the season after. Please only create one season at a time. Deletion of seasons is not possible without contacting us. If you make a mistake, no problem, just try and change the season that's already there. You can edit the season at any point in time. However, if you start creating a season that requires us that you need to then delete, we need to delete that manually in the database. And there's a few reasons why that's possible. Firstly, if we had a delete season button, it gives the risk that a league might accidentally delete their entire season, which is not really what you want to be able to do. But also from a licensing perspective, we do it based upon how many seasons that you've got. So we just need to have a little bit of control over those. When it comes to your seasons, how do your teams get registered? We're going to go through that with you. They can be performed online by the captains, which is definitely the best option, I think. They can do it manually through a data entry form. So it's the traditional way. You might turn up on a registration night and they fill in a paper form and they send it to you, and you can manually put that data in there. Or alternatively, there is a data import option of an Excel spreadsheet. So we'll provide a template, you can fill that spreadsheet in and it will import that data for you. One important note when it comes to the season setup, just remember that all players within RackEmApp are global. That means if I were to play in the league down the road, I don't need to be created as a new player for your league. Every player is issued what we call an R number, and that R number is portable. So please reuse existing players. If you know they play in a local league and you're searching for them, then please do use that to user, if that makes sense. So we're going to get started here in the dashboard. Now, the dashboard is what you see when you first log in. And what you can see, if this is your first season with RackEmApp, you get this setup checklist. And this is quite important because before you create your season, which you can see here is down at step 6, you've got a few different things that you need to do, such as creating your match format, league profiles, venues and tables, and you need all of that in order for you to progress through the season wizard. There's separate documentation available for all of those, so please do look that up. But in the meantime, if you want to create a season, you can press the more details button to see where you do that, and also you can press that button to create a season here. Alternatively, where you'd normally access your seasons is through your league administration menu, in league management and in seasons. And this screen shows me all of the seasons that I have within the system. I can see these are in order. I can see I've got what we call legacy seasons. So these are seasons that you've had historically. If you want to import your previous roll of honour and previous winners of all your competitions and divisions, you can do that. You can see here I've got some completed seasons. Now, as we mentioned at the top of the video, you can only have one draft season and you can only have one active season. And when that active season is completed, you come in here and you press the complete season button and it completes it. Now I'm going to tap here and have a look at my draft. Now this season that I've created has already been partially created, but for the purpose of this video we're going to go back to the basic screen and talk you through everything that's here. First things first, our season details. Season name, very, very simple. Winter 2024-25, it could be summer, you can name it whatever you want, it's entirely up to you. The rule set, we've got a bunch of rule sets that we link to here, and each of these has a link on your website that goes directly to the rule set, so players can automatically and very quickly access any rules there. Your match format is exactly how your match looks when it comes to your team matches. So there's numerous different match formats that you can set up, and this is all covered previously. There is also the concept of a decider type. So if your match were to finish in a draw, in many league situations, that's fine. You award points per draw or points per frame, that's okay. But what you see is you have your decider type. So if in some leagues you might want to settle your matches through a black ball shootout or a 6-red shootout to determine who gets the overall win. So you can just configure that for your season here. Obviously this can vary by competition. So you don't have to do this for every competition, but for your team divisions, that is what the decider type is there for. And if it is not applicable, then please do select that. And just a quick note on your match formats, you can assign match formats on a per division basis. So if your Premier League had played a different type of match to your lower leagues, then you can change that to determine the number of frames, etc. There is a setting for a certain league that allows teams to choose the day of the week their home games are played, although it's not particularly well used. And you can also say that during the season, each team is played each other at different times per division. So again, this is to help those leagues that might have smaller divisions and larger divisions, perhaps play in different rule sets. So if you've got a division that's six teams in it, and a division of 10, you might say that your 6-team division plays each team 3 times, whereas your 10-team division plays each other twice. Moving on, how do we set up your player statistics? Your player statistics are generally in the form of rankings, and you can call it whatever you like. For our particular league, we call them hotshots, but lots of people might call them merits, averages, rankings, however you want to call it, you name it, whatever you like. And you choose your statistics method. So we have a number of different statistics methods here that are all documented. Most wins is very common. Win percentage is a very common one as well. And remember, when you choose these, you can implement a statistics threshold. So let's say this is based upon the number of your rankings are based upon most wins, but they have to play a minimum of 20 frames or make 20 appearances, which is particularly handy if you're using win percentage, because you don't want somebody that's played 1-1-1 and sits on 100%, so you need to be able to set that threshold there. There's also a setting when we think about our rankings and our statistics as whether forfeited frames are included. So if a player turns up but their opponent doesn't, do they get awarded the statistic for it? And that gives them the opportunity to do that. Now, there is also this additional setting called Top Gun. Now, what Top Gun does is it allows you to base your rankings based upon the first frame played in the first section, the first frame played in the match, or the first 2 frames played. And if you're using this particular option, you get the opportunity to choose. Rankings are based upon Top Gun as well. So you get lots of different options available to you there. We'll then move on to the match settings, where you can configure your shot clock on your match clock. These are completely optional. Captains have the opportunity within their mobile app to jump straight to a shot timer that gets pre-configured with these settings. If you don't use the shot clock, you can ignore them. And we've also got the match length option in here as well to determine how many minutes that match is. So these options are also used if you are streaming matches using the RackEmApp streaming technologies. And it will show the shot clock and the match length clock on your stream overlay, so that when people are watching, they know exactly how much time's left on the shot or during the match. And that's giving you that ultimate pool style of experience there. We've got a set of season terms, and this gives you the opportunity to enter information for your captains to read before they sign up their account for the season. So it might give them some information about the start date. So perhaps the start date is the 10th of November. Okay, it's just so that people know about it. It might include anything that you want there. Okay. And then over to this, we've got the season timeline. So this timeline is here because it helps set the scene for later parts of this season creation wizard. So when's the season start date? What's the first match of the season going to be? We've then got 2 different deadlines that you can apply within your system. So a player registration deadline. So this means captains are allowed to register players themselves in their mobile app right up until the deadline that you set. And optionally, you can require approval for those player registration deadlines. And we've also got a transfer deadline as well. And that transfer deadline does the same thing. So the functionality within the mobile app, if the deadline is passed, will prevent them from actually doing these activities. We've got the team registration open date and close date. So what we'll see in the next screen is how teams can register for your season, and there is an online registration option. And what this allows you to do is just determine what that registration open and close date is. So let's say we're going to open registrations on the 20th of September, which is currently, date today is the 8th of October. I'm going to close it on the 28th of October. So that will allow me to see my registration online in the next phase. We've then got some settings around team and player registration. So what's the maximum team size if you have one, and how many players are allowed to be signed on a per day basis. And also, okay, what do you charge? You know, what are your entry fees? Are they per team, per player, or per team and player? So you can see how these prices stack up. And you've also got the opportunity to have a re-registration price compared to a team price. So if teams re-register, they might pay a lower rate than those that are new teams for various different reasons. So you can choose that here as well. How do teams pay their registration? Now, if you're using the RackEmApp invoicing system, which I'll touch on in this video, you can allow them to pay by bank transfer and give them some instructions to do so. And when they register, they'll be shown and displayed and emailed all this information to help you automatically pay by bank transfer. You can also open up the opportunity if you set up a Stripe account, which is a payment provider that we work with. You can accept registrations online through card, which is almost a zero admin option for you. So it is very, very useful for you to be able to know about that. The one thing to note when it comes to your Stripe accounts is you will only be allowed to use a Stripe account if you're not awarding prize money. If you're doing it for trophies, for credit, for kudos, that's absolutely fine. But Stripe do not allow you to do it for purposes of gambling, and they interpret pool leagues, people registering for competitions where they can win money as being gambling, so that would be contravening their terms. You can also allow payments by PayPal by offering an email address, and that can be enabled too. And when you've got your season basics set up, you can press save and next. And that takes us to the next phase of this wizard along the top here, and this is the team registration section. Now, I've already got some data entered in here just to make it nice and useful for you to be able to see the sorts of information you get about your team registration. So you can see here a summary, all of the teams in alphabetical order. It does usually show the email and mobile number for the captain as well, just so you've got access to that. It shows you who they registered, when they registered them, and the price of all of those players, and also any competition entries, both for team competitions like cups and also for individual competitions as well. And it will give you that overall summary here. Now, if I click on the invoice and payments button for any particular team, it will show me all the invoices and all the payments there, and I can also view things like invoices and receipts, and these all get emailed across to the individual teams. So, you know, there's a nice little system set up there where you've got all this information available for them. But ultimately, whilst you're in this section here, this is when your registration period is open. Now, that could be done online, or it could be in person, or it could be through the import of data. Let's say, for example, you're going through a more traditional registration phase where people are filling in paper forms, they're handing it in to you, and you've got to do the laborious task of entering that data as a team. To do this, you press the Register New Team button, and it gives you the opportunity to enter this form, and this contains all the information you'd expect to be able to enter on a registration form for a team in a pool league. So you give the team a name, so I'm going to call this demo team, and my previous team link is going to be a new team. This gives you the opportunity to register a team against a previous team. So you know, as we know, pool teams, they move from venue to venue, they change names over the years, but actually the history of those teams always get related back to what we call as a parent team. And then we've got the seasonal teams. The seasonal team is that iteration of that team for that season, containing that list of players, because of course players move from season to season as well. First up, you start entering the details for the captain, and I'm going to search for a demonstration player here and try and find them to mark them as the captain. And you can see here this user has already got a RackEmApp account, and that might be common if the player plays in multiple different leagues. But I always insist on having a phone number for the captains, because leagues need to be able to get in touch with them. You can see here the email address is hidden, and that's really, really important from a GDPR perspective. As we talked about before, players are global. But you don't want to be able to register a player and just have access to their contact details, because otherwise that would give you the opportunity to, you know, misuse it ultimately. So what we do is we hide the email addresses and phone numbers for any players that are not brand new players that play in other leagues, and they get the opportunity to opt in to allow you to see that contact information. You can still email them, you can still contact them, you just can't see them. So it'll allow you to send emails from the system, but you won't be able to view that email address. The next thing we need to know for this team is we need to know where they're playing from. And I'm going to say that this team is playing from the White Hart. Okay, and when you choose your venue, it gives you a list of tables to select from. Now, it'll only allow you to register 2 teams to any given table, because when it generates the fixtures, you can only have 2 teams on a particular table. Otherwise, one of them is going to be sat waiting around for a really, really long time. And the next thing we look for is the players. Now, this is optional. You can insist that your captains register players in the app if you want to, but alternatively, you can just start entering these players into the system. So I'm going to start searching for some players. And as my search results come back, I can find Liz Hanya there. I can register them, and I'll search for Carl Hickbread. If I make a mistake, I can press this red button here. But as we search for players, just like we saw with the captains, I can search for a player and it will tell me if they're already a part of my league or not. So let's say I'm going to search for, I don't know, Steve Davis. So I can see here I've got a Steve Davis registered to some other leagues, but in my league I don't have a new one. So what I can look for is I can say, okay, is this Steve Davis likely to be the player that I'm looking for? I'm nowhere near Leicester, so it's unlikely to be that guy. This Steve Davis, I live, about an hour away, but he's also unlikely to be them. But if it's a league that's literally the next town over, it could be the same player. So if it is the same player, and you know about that, let's get in touch with the local league and find out, or the captain, and make sure you choose the existing player. Alternatively, you can press the register new player button and create a new iteration of Steve Davis, because we know he's a completely new player. And when I'm completed, I can press the register team button. And that team is created. And if I scroll down to demo team, where are they? You can see it's created my demo team here. I'm going to go into the invoices and payments a little bit later again, just so you can see that in action. Now that's just one way that we can register the team. The other way we can do it is by using import data. And if I press this button, it will ask me to download a template, and it will open up an Excel spreadsheet that I can then use to populate with information. It includes some instructions there. It gives you the first name, the last name, RackEmApp ID, that's the R number, and other information alongside the team name, venue, and the table. So you can populate this, save it, and then import that data, and it will do a similar job for you. And it varies from place to place as to whether people are more comfortable doing this or the manual form method of doing it. I would always prefer the form method, because it gives you much better control over matching players to existing players that exist within the system. But if you have got a lot of data and you find that this is easier, this is also available. Just bear in mind that it might mean creating duplicate player records and players that might not be happy about the fact that they've got 2 separate profiles, but that's over to you to sort out. Now the other option that is here is within your main website, and if I click on this and open it in a new tab, we can see that I can do online team registration. So we can see here the season registration is open. I've got 39 teams registered at the moment, and I'm going to press register team to do my team registration. Now what this has done is it's detected that I'm already logged into the system, so it's actually pre-populated my captain details. However, if I were to open this in an incognito window, just to show you what it looks like as a completely new captain, you can see it gives me a similar type of form to the one I saw, but with a bit more information in here. So what we can see is I can give it a team name. So I'm going to call this Demo Team B. And again, I get the option to choose my parent team, which there is no parent team, and I can find my captain. So let's say I'm looking for Toby Larone again. Now I can see he's already registered this team. It also shows me that he's already registered to demo team, so I might not want to pick that player. So perhaps it's Mary Lovestick. And when I choose Mary, I can see they're an existing player. Now of course, I can just press new captain and create a brand new captain. All right, so I can give that information and populate this with data. Have to provide an email address and a phone number. Okay, and then I get the same option to choose my venue, my tables. I can see here that If I had any team competition entries, so cups to enter, I could choose check a box to enter those. And I've also got to agree to the RackEmApp system privacy policy, and also the league's terms and conditions and privacy policy, which is something you can set up as well. And this is really, really important because it's people are entering data into a system. They need to know what that data is being used for. I press save and next, and it gives me the opportunity to enter my players. So it already adds the captain as a player, and I'm going to add, I don't know, let's add Mary as a player. There we go. Oh, they've already been registered for a team for the upcoming season, so we actually can't use those as a player. So instead, what we'll do is we will create a new player and just call them demo player. And add them in there. So you can see that's been added successfully. If there's any player competitions to enter, I could do so here as well. Otherwise, it gives me the price, it gives me the bank details, and I can press register new team to register that team. Now this team doesn't automatically get added to the season. If I come back to my dashboard, then I can see here I've got my team registrations here that I can then choose to approve, and that could be because they're using, I don't know, an offensive team name or anything like that. I can view the details, so I can see the players, just so I can double check that those players that have been created are there, and I can then choose to approve or reject them. Now if I press the approve button, that then generates an email, and that email will be sent to the captain. So this is an example of what the captain's invitation looked like. And this invitation goes out even if you register them manually or do it through a data import. And this is the requirement for captains to register for the app. So the captain will receive this email. It'll tell them they've been registered for the team at the particular league and that it's been accepted. And they then click on a link to register their account. And if I click on that link, it will show me roughly what it looks like. If I'm already registered, it will detect it. It obviously knows that I'm not at the moment. And what it does is you can see here that I can enter that detail to complete my registration as a captain. And once the captains complete their registrations, they then get access to the mobile application. So returning back to our season wizard. We can see here we have our newly registered teams. Demo team and demo team B. And what I can do here is if I want to invoice them, I can check the box to issue them an invoice, and pressing this button will send them that invoice. And when I've checked my bank details to determine that they've paid that invoice, I can check the box and mark it as paid. Now all of this feeds into the payments report, and this is a really good way of you summarizing who owes you what money over the course of a season. So I can see here I've got two teams that haven't quite been invoiced the amount that they've actually entered for competitions, and I can see they've paid, but they've paid how much they've been invoiced. So we need to do some more invoices for these teams, and it also gives me an overview of how much money has been made in terms of registrations over the course of the season. So you can use this to help reconcile against your bank to determine who hasn't paid their bills. The other thing we can do within the teams, we can optionally collect some custom information in team registration. So we can, I don't know, capture what's your favourite rule set, or whatever you want to do there, and it'll just allow them to enter that data. And once you've got some data in there, that can be reviewed in your teams list. But assuming all of our teams are completed, we're going to go all the way to the bottom and press next. And it takes us to our division setup. The next stage of the season wizard is around assigning teams into divisions, and this is important because you can't create a fixture calendar because you don't know how many calendar dates you need, because you don't know how many teams you've got in your division. So you assign the teams to the division first, then we're going to create the calendar, and then that will generate the fixtures for you. So whilst this screen looks a little bit busy, it's separated into two sections. On the left, you've got the unused section. So you've got divisions you're not using for this season so far, and any teams that are not yet assigned. And on the right-hand side, we've got the ability to see which divisions are in use. So you can see here, I've got my Premier Division. If we look at one division at a time, Premier Division is set with this league table configuration, and again this can be separated per division, but it's about the number of points that you earn for a win, a draw, etc. And you can set up your league table profiles using that here. You can draw a line for promotion and relegation on your league table, so it's the top division, so there's no promotion, but we do relegate too. You can also roughly indicate the standard, and this is going to be useful in the future for ELO calculations as to roughly how good you think the players that play in that division are. On the right hand side is something we'll look at in a moment, but it's just about pairing teams up, and we'll come to that later. Now, if for whatever reason your divisions are in a different order, I can resequence them. So I can see Premier has got a down arrow. I can move Division 1 up to make sure that's my top division, but of course it's not. I'm going to move that back there, and you can see it switches these around all of the time. And the other things I can do is I can add a buy team into this division, and that I've already got a buy, so let's say I want to remove a buy, I can do that. I can remove any team from any division, but I can add a buy in there as well. And it's important if you've got an odd number of teams, but potentially you want to fill that buy after the season started, you must include the buy team. If you don't include the buy team, the chances are we're not going to be able to insert it later. So you really must add the buy team at this point here if you need to. We can see here if you've made any mistakes, you can change the division that any particular team is in here. Like I said, you can remove the team. We can also change the number of these teams. We're going to come to that in a little while, because that's how it generates the fixtures and how it determines how to avoid a fixture clash. But to get started, we're going to assign an unused division. So I've got Premier Division, I've got Division 1, I've got Division 2. Logically, the next division to add for me is Division 3. So I can press the use button. If my division doesn't exist, I can press the plus button. It will allow me to create a new perpetual division that can be used in the future. And then I assign my teams into those divisions. So ultimately, I know that all of these teams are going to go into Division 3. So I can just choose a division. You can see it's assigning these teams into the divisions. And just repeat the process as we go. So I can see here now, I've got my divisions. I've got my I've got my demo teams in here as well, and you can see here a whole bunch of stuff that's gone red. Now the reason why this is going to be difficult is now I've got 12 teams in this division, and I only want to have 10 teams in each. So I'm going to assign this demo team into the Premier League just for the sake of this demo, and I'm going to assign this demo team in Division 2. That evens all of the teams up. And I do need to remove my buys, which I can do. And that levels all of my divisions up. Now, what I can see here is a whole bunch of red text, and what this is doing is it's flagging where there is what we call a table clash, and the table clash is when two teams share a table but they're in the incorrect positions for this to be valid. So you can see here, Southampton Arms B is shared with Southampton Arms Misfits. Either their team number needs to be 10, or this team needs to be set to 5. Now I know that's because I've just added that back in, and they're in the wrong position. So if I come down here, I can set the Southampton Arms Misfits to be team number 10. And you can see it recalculates that. Now I've noticed this has not changed this. I'm just going to take Wolves Warriors out and bring Wolves Warriors back in. Okay, and Misfits need to be into position 10. And you can see here, I no longer have a table clash for the Southampton Arms Misfits or the Southampton Arms B, so that clash is now correct. I also see for the Prince Regent, they're shared with the Likely Lasses, which are in Division 3. And that's saying I need to put Likely Lasses as team number 7. So I'll put Likely Lasses as team number 7. And you can see here, that clash has disappeared. Poke and Hope are clashed with the Tomb Raiders. So this team needs to be 5, so I'm going to make this team number 5. Of course, this is going to then cause some of my other ones to go wrong, so I just need to adjust that as well. I can see here the Flyers need to be team number 1, so I'm going to push that all the way up to number 1. And you just kind of fiddle this around until you get it right. Now, the recommendation I make is use these team numbers as a guide, and you can do this all on Excel, or alternatively I can help you out. So just write in and we'll see if we can kind of get that sorted. There is an auto assign team numbers button at the top which will get you most of the way, but it's important to understand how this works just so that you can get this right yourself. So you can see here Central Dodge shared with Central Primates, so they're team number 5. So Central, so this team needs to be number 9. So Central Primates needs to be number 4. And you just shuffle this stuff around as and when you do. Now, I'm not going to go into this into any more detail. I'll just try and press the auto assign team numbers button just to show you that works. And it gets you some of the way there, and it gives you a more limited set that you've then got to resolve. The last thing to note when it comes to these table clashes and these pairing of these team numbers is that this only works if all your divisions are the same size. Now, we can make it work if your teams are slightly differently sized. So let's say you're a 10 and a 12 team or a 10 and an 8 team. There is a method to do it. The system doesn't out of the box do it for you, but it is something we can help with. So if you write into us and say you've got divisions of a different size and you're struggling with fixture clashes, drop us a line and we'll be able to sort that out for you. In the meantime, once you've got everything all set, you can press the next button and it will take you to the calendar. And the calendar here has already got some dates populated from the competitions that we've got set up within the season. But you can see here effectively it gives us information pertaining to how it's going to generate this calendar. So first things first, how many times am I playing each team? Once, twice is the usual, okay? And what I've got here is a bunch of dates that are used throughout the system. So these are all cup weeks. I've also got finals day in here and presentation night, but you get started by pressing the generate dates button, and what this does is it creates a calendar based upon your season start date. It will then insert a fixture week once for each match day that gets calculated. So if we have a look at this division contains 10 teams, it means it's going to create 18 match days. You can see here, it creates them all. It puts these in order, so I can see here I've got my cup weeks down here as well. Now, at any point in time, I might decide actually I want to have a break week in here, so give people a chance to catch up on back matches. I can press make break. Okay, and you can see that shifts everything else down. I could, at some point over here in February, let's say we want to have a Valentine's Day competition or a special event, I can use the edit pencil and I can change this to be, I don't know, a special event. And when I save that date, it then shifts everything else down and it just extends my season, and it just keeps doing this until you get your calendar right. So you can replace your dates with competitions. You can insert new calendar dates to be whatever you want to insert there. When your calendar looks how you want it to look, you press next. And it will then automatically generate the matches for you. And it's auto-generated the matches for you. So you can see here, we've got the Premier League, the Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, and if I just scroll down here, it will highlight any fixture clashes that might be present, and I can see here where I see one. Now I can, of course, reverse fixtures. That may indeed actually cause more clashes, or I can change the date completely of any particular fixture to reschedule them. I can also remove the buys, and removing the buys will take the buy matches out, so it just looks like the match is not to be played. I can also regenerate the fixtures. Now that only ever needs to be done if I've changed divisions or changed the calendar around. Regenerate the fixtures is not going to shuffle anything up. This is all built on a predefined fixture template, so it's never going to randomize anything. It's always going to look the same no matter how many times you press it, as long as your divisions and calendar look the same. But if you've made some edits to weeks and you want to reset it back to default, pressing regenerate will do that task for you. And when you're ready, you press the next button. And you're ready to start your season. Now, if it's your first season, you'll get a free trial. If it's not your first season, then you've got to start paying, and it's £5 per team per season, and it will take you to a checkout form. And once you have paid that, it will start the season. Because it's my league, I've got access for free. I just press the start season button, and that kicks everything off. And as the season gets started, my website menu appears with all of my fixtures, league tables and everything else that needs to be created, and my season screen is ready to complete, which of course I don't want to do. Now once the season's live, you're not able to edit the calendar, you're not able to edit the fixtures, you're not able to do any of that, but you can make changes to these settings. You can still access the team screen to view your payments and your payment information about it, and you can come into this division screen to change things like the configuration, the promotion, relegation, standard and things like that. You can also in this screen convert a team to buy. Now if for whatever reason you find you've made a mistake with the calendars, you made a mistake with anything, all right, you've got this unstart season button. Now this unstart season button will only allow you to regenerate fixtures if no results are present, but what this will do is it will set it back to just before you've pressed start season, and what that means is you can go back and make the changes. However, sometimes it doesn't allow you to do this, because what happens is captains create what we call draft results, and if I go into league management, fixtures and results, we'll see what one of those looks like. And I can see here I've got a 0-0 result, and that's just because it's a draft that's been created. If I press this delete result button, it just resets that. They're normally fine to exist in the system, don't get me wrong, but it won't allow you to unstart the season whilst these are present. So you just need to take them out, and once you do that, you will be able to go into your season and unstart it if you need to. Thank you for watching this video about season setup. All of our documentation will be found at blog.rackemapp.com. Articles about every aspect of the system to help you find what you need and learn what you need to do. Or if you need to get in touch with us, it's hello@rackemapp.com. Thanks and have a great day.